Alright, so this was intended to be a, what do you call it, leftovers podcast or whatever, but it's going to be a TOL instead, which is talking out loud. It doesn't matter because I have 0 subscribers. That's not the point that I make these. I make these mostly for myself. Um, Today is July 31st, 2020. And this week thus far has been a different one. Prior to COVID, I hung out at a bar a lot, learned how to play pool. It was good stuff. And, got to socialize. You got to see things a different way. Almost said a different way, but anyway. And it was a very eclectic bar. Musically, there's a jukebox. You can swipe. You can play almost anything. And the demographic there is everybody. You got wealthy people, not so wealthy people, people traveling, commuters. If I didn't give a heads up with the background, I'm in DC, DC area, DMV, whatever. Close enough for me to come to the freaking Washington Monument before I go home to sleep. Let's see freaking David Chappelle do that. That bothered me for so long. I'm going to rant a little bit, not too much. I love David Chappelle, good guy. I saw his last special. I even talked with a couple people at the bar about that tonight. One of the things that you hear about bars, there's certain things. You never talk about politics, you never talk about religion, you never talk about race. And that's all that's happening right now. So when people are going out to the bar, actually they weren't talking too much about that. I wasn't listening. The people I was talking to were, of course, because I might have spurred it. So I'm not a good scientific specimen with that, because there was no control. There was like, well, what if the Black Lives Matter protests never happened? Would people be going to the bar and talking about? I don't know if they'd be talking about race or whatever, but it came up very briefly in my conversation, as well as it was mostly from the scientific standpoint about how this whole COVID thing is playing out. Do we wear a mask? Should we even be at a bar? Should we be inside with a mask on, or we're at a certain table? The people you interact with, all these kind of things, and all this other stuff's going on at the same time. And people relayed to me certain information. It got a little political because people talked about who they, not necessarily, well, technically who they voted for in the previous election and who they might vote for in this one based on that information. And I told them, I said, pretty much with this whole COVID thing, me personally, I'm just working on being a better human being. You know what I mean? Well, maybe you don't. So let me try to explain it to you. I just want us to have a better interaction with each other. There was one question I was going to ask a person at the bar. He was actually the bartender. But I know he was a veteran. Young guy. Young veteran. So it's post September 11th veteran. All right? And I wanted to include him on the conversation. He was willing to involve himself, but something like at bars you do, people are loud, things happen, customers come up and you're like, I'll get to it later. But I never got to the question. But it goes hand in hand with religion for me. It goes hand in hand with politics. And it goes hand in hand with race. Because at some level, I want to think that I'm an adult. I want to think that I don't know everything. I never will. All I can do is be the best person I can be. And it's a humbling situation in a world where what our core values are. Like you have to have some core belief. At least for me, I have to have some core belief. I have to stand for something. And I really believed in America not this America, that stuff like that. But like I have dip in my mouth, which is tobacco, chewing tobacco instead of opposed to smoking cigarettes, which I do, which is both bad, but whatever. Supposedly, people say. And these people, them, they, we listen to them, they with everything. Them, they with smoking, them, they with coronavirus. No matter how many tests you throw in front of people, they're going to decide what they believe in. And more and more, I'm just trying to be a good person, you know what I mean? And be a good, and I want to, on one level, that might be a very difficult task. But on a smaller level, that might just be being a better American to your fellow American. And I've seen homeless people, right? They're my fellow American. I never forget that. I know you might have rough times. I know you might have a drug addiction. I know you might have an alcohol addiction. You might have various addictions. But I know at the end of the day, you're my fellow American. I mean, there's certain rights that you got. I'm not talking about the Bill of Rights or the amendments or the Constitution even. That sounds silly, but whatever. I just want to be a good person. Like, I just want to be a good human. And it takes a lot. There's multiple levels, you know what I mean? And so, you can't work on all the levels, but you can work on some of them. I'm not going to bring up Bill Cosby or, well, I guess I am. Or anyone else, or I can't even think of a freaking, I can't think of a white person I dislike. In the same sense that I dislike Bill Cosby. I can't think of someone that, I can think of people, and I can think of people that I dislike more than Bill Cosby. Like, Hitler didn't seem like a great dude. At all. But I would say that Bill Cosby, who would I rather hang out with? I never hung out with, Hitler, so I don't know. But Bill Cosby, you're not that great either. Like, if I was hanging out both of them, like, can I just go to another bar? Like, if there was like one seat left, right? It's like guy bathroom rules. It's like you got one stall to your left, you got one stall to your right, and there's the middle one. I'd prefer to go to another restroom rather than take a piss between, Adolf Hitler and Bill Cosby. That is just me personally. I'm the guy that goes to the stall. But you're going to the stall to stand up and yeah, I am, because Bill Cosby and Adolf Hitler are at the urinals, and I don't feel like measuring up. Number one, measuring up to them. I don't know if they're gonna glance over and make it weird. I don't know what the heck's gonna happen. But anyway, back to the conversations I had. The one thing with the COVID, I don't know. You learn a lot as a kid. You know what I mean? Social distancing, the first time I remember social distancing, it stuck with me. I got put in timeout once as a kid. And it didn't teach me about social distancing. Let me explain this before I go anymore. I hear myself, I have a lisp, and I also have chewing tobacco in my mouth, which makes it more apparent. But, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can also do a Mike Tyson impression, and I don't want you to get the whole thing misconstrued or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And for a long time, I thought it was misconstrued, but it's not. It's misconstrued. And with that, I'm not from New York. I'm not from Brownsville, but I never run, never will. Like, I believe with that. I stand with Mike Tyson when it comes to that thing, and I hope his fight against Roy Jones is phenomenal. I hope nobody gets super hurt, and I hope it's more a battle of skill versus will, because I know both of them are ex-fighters and very willing to go the distance. They're champions. You're not talking about Mike Tyson coming out of retirement and fighting some Joe Schmo nobody. You're talking about Mike Tyson fighting another former champion, and it's almost a shame. It almost shouldn't happen. You almost shouldn't have to have two fucking champions going face to face, head to head, willing to give it all, last on the line. The changing of the guard. There is no God there. There's a God, but there's not a God. You know what I mean? Like Guard. It took me a long time to even learn that because I have dyslexia as well. But anyway, I'm tired of doing the Mike Tyson thing. But what I said was important, not so much the accent in which I'm doing it. And I'm big on accents because I like linguistics. I like learning how words are pronounced and accents and where accents come from. And man, there's so much. But anyway, that's another thing too. Like the bar I go to, one of the reasons I like it because they're very accepting. I'm a guy that goes in there when I'm going to class. Like I can sit there, I can read my book at a bar. I like being able to read a book at a bar. That's my kind of bar. You know what I'm saying? So before people are like, I'm not doing Jello shots. It's not Coyote Ugly. This is a very different kind of bar. You know what I mean? So you've never been there. So how would you know? But aside from all that, we started talking, and the idea of going back to stuff as my childhood, that was probably the biggest lesson I ever had. Like, my words meant something. So I got put in timeout. It's so stupid even saying it. It was in first grade. First and only time I ever got put in timeout. The teacher had said that we were going to do something, right? And after lunch, we're all going to go outside for recess. And then I guess maybe staff or, stuff that you look at as an adult, like maybe one of the more senior teachers, something like that. Hey, actually, we're not going to do that today. We're going to work on our cursive because, everybody needs that in 2020 as an adult, trying to make their way, and they're sending out these resumes to these jobs that they just graduated from college for, and it's saying that they want at least 5 years of experience and a degree that they literally just got out of college for this year. So it's going to take another 4 years just before them to get noticed. Maybe it's different in certain degrees. Like, you should have became a doctor. You should have became a lawyer. They always need you. And right now they need them more than ever. It's really weird. Fuck. Anyway. But then everything else you want to do, you want to be an arts major, history major, statistics, blah, blah, blah. I mean, if you're not coding or something, son, come on, dude. I know what you're doing. I know you're trying to follow your dream, but your dream is not paying the bills. But anyway, who knows? I hope people don't feel that way. What was I saying? Anyway, yeah, the timeout thing, it taught me that there was an impact in the words I said, because after she said that we're going to go to lunch and the other teacher came down on her, he's like, no, we're not doing lunch. We're doing cursive or whatever. I said, you said, but we're going to go outside. Now we're doing cursive. And she's like, yeah, we've changed it. I'm like, you lied. And when I said, she's like, how dare you? Like, this was a teacher. This is first grade, right? She's like, you don't say that. You say that. I said, but you lied. And I didn't say it with that deep of a voice. I was, but you lied. Anyway. And I come from a very religious background, stuff. I don't want to go into it. But pretty much lying is supposed to be a big thing. You didn't lie. People change their mind. People think that's a very childish thing. But anyway, it got me in timeout. And timeout, I was doing good for like the first, I'm going to say 5 minutes. Right? And I had already seen people in timeout before. You see them start to lose their composure. It's like their first day in a prison cell or something like that. It's like, you're good for like the first minute. You might make it through breakfast. You might even make it through lunch. But sometime between you going back to that cell for a couple hours and dinner coming, it changes you. And don't even mention overnight and after the shower. But anyway, it changes you as a person. And so maybe, I want to say 4 minutes in, I started to crack. I started to crumble. I was like Neo in Matrix movie 1. Oh, no, well, rather, Morpheus in Matrix 1 when Neo had to come and save him. And they were like, it's like a code or whatever. Eventually it's going to crack. It's going to break. And I started to break. Just slightly. I'm like, I'm missing out on everything just because I said something. So I have a big thing on freedom of speech. You know what I mean? So that's where I got from that situation. I'm like, Frank, the words you say are important. And if you stand for something, whatever. It had a adverse effect on me. I'm not gonna say good or bad, but like, if I stand for something, I'm willing. They're the saying. They say if you can't do the crime, if you can't do the time, don't do the crime. And I don't know. That's a good thing, because sometimes you can do the crime, and some people are willing to do the time because they have nothing to lose. So I would say, is it a crime worth doing? And if it's a crime worth doing, why aren't you doing more so to make it legislatable or whatever, or getting it passed to make it decriminalized or something like that? And that marijuana has been a big one for that. Like, you have places like Colorado, you have places like DC, where they've decriminalized it, possession of it, use of it. California, I don't know why that. California was ahead of the curve on everything, but it just had me thinking. That's why I don't know the answers. I don't know. Like, it's a weird time where you have such polarizing forces. You normally do, but it's seriously like Democrat or Republican. Like, I don't care. I don't care what you have. Like, you can't just give me three options. You got Democrat, Republican, and then freaking independent. And if it was any other sport, if it was anything, it would be, you got to put the Lakers in there, right? Lakers, Republican, Democrat. I don't even know who else is good right now. I'd want to say, I don't even know who's freaking good from the other side. I know Raptors lost last year. I don't want to be a bandwagon because they lost one of their stars last year. What is it? Kawhi Leonard? I think Kawhi Leonard. There we go. I think I got the name right. But I don't know who else is good. But anyway, it's gonna be this year's Lakers with LeBron. I like him to do something. But anyway. That's what I'm saying. Like, when you don't, I'm not even that. I'm a Warriors fan, but it would have been stupid for me to say the Lakers and the Warriors, because I believe they're both in the same conference. So I don't even think that's possible. That's why I think it's stupid. Like, let the best fight the best, or battle the best. You know what I mean? I can keep rambling, and I probably will for a little bit longer. But anyway, just to go back to the school thing. So that was my experience with Time Out. But aside from the experience with Time Out, you also had an experience in school about cooties. You know what I mean? Like, not wanting to get close to people, right? You're like, oh, she's got cooties, guy, girl, tag, you're it, contact, don't touch, all these kind of things. And that's what, like, I feel like the world's become a big game of cooties and tag, not it, / contact, all that sort of thing. I don't even know where the freaking contact came from. I know it was something that's been around for a long time. Anyway, aside from all that, just the working on being a good human being is basically at the forefront of what I wanted to do. Was there anything? There is one other one, but I'll leave it for another night or another time. I don't have time to put it in right now. But what the heck was it? There was two. The one I don't want to share. The other one I might, because I think there's something there, like, comedically, and I just can't think of a good way to come across. And that's one thing, like, people think with the comedy, like, I don't get writer's block. I just get like, I can't do this, too much. It's I want it to come across the right way. But one of them, spoiler alert, it involves Judeo-Christian Abrahamic religion and Lot and the person Lot and Sodom and Gomorrah, and about looking back. And for me, looking back is I can't give you too much, but anyway, Looking back, that's a big story, and I don't want to spoil alert. Give you a chance to check it out if you haven't. But looking back, and there's consequences for looking back. That's what I got out of it. Because looking back can keep you from looking forward. Blah blah blah. You know, I don't know if you're like, oh, I see where you was gonna go. Who knows? But yeah, I wanted to say that. Got the cooties out. Oh yeah, here we go. So we're outside, right? And like I say, like, it's a very eclectic bar. So I'm talking to when I talk to women at a bar, I actually talk to women. Like, I'm not just like looking at them. I'm not a simp or a male feminist or any of that kind of stuff. But I actually talk to the women. I try to be as respectful as possible, and one of them, they were talking about makeup and how makeup smears in the heat. And I wasn't aware of this because I don't watch a whole lot of makeup tutorials, I don't watch that kind of stuff. And so the topic actually came on from, I don't have time. I don't want to, whatever, I'll go into it. There was a woman, she was talking about a dude, he's very, I guess, a thespian in a way. He's very, he likes to look good. And so he went on a date with a girl, and she had said to him, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And he was so shocked and appalled. This is a woman telling me this story. And I said, well, maybe he didn't see it that way. Maybe she said, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And he said in his mind, you're really asking me, where do you see us in 5 years? Like, oh, you don't want that. That's scary. That's like, I was like telling him, like, that's akin to like a guy taking a girl home to her doorstep and being like, so what do you want to do for the next 8 hours or something crazy, like implying like, like, whoa, maybe this is a little too fast. If it's not, the question really shouldn't even be asked. But anyway, she said it was an innocuous question. It was polite. It was normal. And I made the arguments on there, and we did that. You can talk, honest discussion. It's not politics. It's not religion, and it's not race. It's sex, but it's not, whatever. And without sex, you don't have any of those things. So it's very weird. And at the bar, that's the main thing you're trying to get is sex. For most people. I've been to a bar several times. But apart from that, there was one other thing. Oh, yeah. So we get outside. There's a woman. Possibly Ethiopian, possibly Eritrean, and I say goodbye to the people that I was talking about the makeup with, and I say to her, oh, thank you so much for telling me about makeup and how it runs in the heat. And the woman, I don't think she fully understood what I said, maybe saw eye contact with me, or maybe she just listened to me say something about makeup. She's like, you shouldn't do that to a woman. I said, what? And she's like, you shouldn't discuss makeup. And she's like, look at me, I don't have any makeup on. And then there was a guy, this handsome guy, probably like 5'10", 5'11", something like that. Boom, chiseled jaw, clean shaven. Boom, like, all the things that guys get in fights over. Oh, he looks more handsome than me. All that, like, dumb stuff. You know what I mean? Look like you could take a punch. That's another thing. People watching where it's like when a guy's in a bar, sometimes it's like a deer with antlers or something, like or elk with antlers, even better. Like he's like, oh, his antlers are bigger than mine. It gets kind of weird, and women know this. It's not an argument. Like we can make it one, but in either case, he's there, and so she says to him, give me your age. I mean, like, give me the age you think that I am. And he's like, that's a trap. He's like, why would I ask? Like, and she's like, no, just tell me how old you. He's like, I'm not wearing makeup. Tell me how old you think I am. Now, she didn't ask me, so I didn't give an answer. I thought she looked like 35, 36, maybe, somewhere around there. She had a hard life or something like that. I've been watching a lot of soft underbelly, white soft underbelly, so I've gotten to see certain things. They say the streets age you, but I don't know if she was on the streets or not, or whatever. Well, who knows? A whole lot of people on the streets right now with COVID. And that's serious. That's Skid Row. That's places all across the country. If you don't know what Skid Row is, it's I don't even know what to tell you. It's people without homes. It's people with homes that, drug addiction. It's everything. Anyway, that stuff ages you, supposedly. But anyway, everyone's going to age. You got to grow up sometime. But she was talking to him, and he said, that's a trap. And she's like, no, give me the age. And he's like, I'm not going to answer that. He's like, this isn't my first rodeo. And me, not even intentionally, I said, well, shoot, man, I've never even ridden a horse. And he busted out laughing, and I didn't realize for like after he started laughing, I'm like, oh yeah, crap. The horses aren't for the rodeos, the bulls. But if I think too deep, I mean, I think they had horses, Mustang riders and whatever else. I think some people ride horses, but I think that's kind of, maybe there's laws against that. People, what do they call it? A bucking bronco or something like that. You see that thing, but you don't really see people doing the horses. I think, I don't even know where they're going. Anyway, I lost the joke. But the joke was I said horses instead of bulls, but somewhere in there is the comedic genius that I'm neglecting. So you all have a good night, and that's it. Take care. Stay safe. Stay positive. All that good stuff.